What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Round Table. This is TART Live, and who's this guy?
I don't know, man. I'm just chilling here. You know? You just pulled me on. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, we were scouring the interwebs for a co-host tonight, and this Christian Watkins guy said, "You know what? I would love a shot at this." Chris is a good friend of ours here, fellow YouTube content creator. Christian, welcome to the Atheist Roundtable, man. How are you?
I am fantastic. I've been so excited to join you, and I'm really excited to get started.
Cool. Well, you do, or you create a lot of great content on on your platform, and we go share a lot of the similar guests and views and conversations. So I'm not even going to treat this necessarily. You are a guest to the round table, but you're part of the team, man. You're doing a lot of the same things that we're doing, and vice versa. We share that. We kind of share that lane. So tell us a little bit about Christian. You're first of all, where people can find you, what you have going on, what you have coming up. Let's just talk about Christian.
Sure, my favorite subject. So you can first find me on youtube.com/Christian J. Watkins. I make a variety of content. Secular Firesides usually is where you can find me, where I have 4 or 5 other atheists come on and join me for a really interesting, low, chill conversation about a variety of topics. Still scheduling some in the future. Can't really disclose the exact guest list yet, but I'm getting some awesome people pretty soon. That may be moving to less frequent due to how hard it is to schedule so many people for one time slot, but I'm definitely going to continue the series. I also do the Watkins podcast, where I bring on another guest to discuss a variety of things. Sometimes it's sci-fi, gaming, sometimes it's actual religiosity, sometimes it's historicity, sometimes it's philosophy, or even biology. There's a lot of things I talk about on that. And then a brand new series, which I'm launching on my channel, which I'm going to announce for the first time here on the Atheist Roundtable for some fun. I am starting a brand new solo series where I break down a variety of topics, including topics on race, social justice, religion, and arguments for God, just on my lonesome, about 20, 30-minute videos, just breaking it down. And hopefully that'll give people an insight into my viewpoints, which I don't always get to share with so many awesome guests on. But other than that, I stream on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/ChristianJames02, and it's changing to Christian James Watkins. There's my Twitter. There we go. Look at that. Pasta Mike's got it. That's Christian J. Watt K1, which I'm going to change eventually. But for some reason, Christian J. Watkins is too long for Twitter. I don't get it. It makes me upset, but I have to deal with it. So yeah, that's my Twitter. And you can see Mr. Matt Delonte screaming no in the corner, which is always good. And other than that, I mean, that's a lot of what I do. I also have a Discord, which I don't think is in the description, but I can probably link that if you need. But it's community. We sometimes have conversations in there. I often host a Q&A at least once monthly. And then my Patreon, patreon.com/Christian J. Watkins, where you can get all my uploads a day early and a monthly live stream for Patreon exclusives.
Awesome. And we tried to list everything in their description. If we did miss anything, Christian, just shoot me the links that we missed, and I'll make sure that those get put up in the description for you. And the one thing Pasta and I have talked about listening to your content in its totality, because a lot of times people will listen to maybe 5 minutes of this episode or 5 minutes of that episode, and they don't really get to take away the big picture. Or people's particular skill sets or talent level. The one thing him and I have noticed about you is your interviewing skills and your ability to ask really, really good questions that are thought provoking, whether that be a theist or an atheist. You're able to create that spark those thoughts and that conversation with both parties. How would you recommend that, or what would you recommend to somebody that wants to improve in that area to be able to start that dialogue and become a good interviewer?
It's really active listening. I mean, it starts with not wanting to respond, but first wanting to listen. For the longest time, I was a debater. I was a forensic speaker. I oftentimes would talk first, listen later. And it turns out that conversations with theists or conversations with people in general that matter, you oftentimes have to slow down and just listen first. Because sometimes your assumptions may not be true, and sometimes what you think their position may be is not actually holistically accurate. So I would just recommend everyone listens a little more and talks a little less to start off with. And then once you understand their position, then you can go into the refutations and all of those sorts of things like I enjoy doing. But my first step was slowing it down, listening first, not trying to win every conversation, because sometimes conversations don't have a winner or a loser. It's just a conversation.
Right.
So stop trying to win. Stop trying to get the gotcha moment on YouTube. You're not going to get them. And, have those come naturally if they do. But otherwise, just have great conversations, listen actively. And I would say be kind. There's not enough people who start a conversation getting to know someone before you start getting into worldviews. Cold opening a worldview and trying to debunk it is going to be really difficult, because it's hard to understand someone's entire worldview in a couple minutes. So I would say take the time that's necessary to properly address someone's worldview, and don't just try to get the WWE SmackDown right away, because it won't happen. I tried, trust me.
So no, just instant stone cold stunners. Don't do that.
No. I would say slow it down a little bit, then go for it.
Okay. Before we move along, because really, like I said, I want this to really feel like for you, Christian, that you're just hanging out with the TART guys, and we can not just be interviewing you, but you can ask questions too, ask questions to us, and that sort of thing. So before we dig into that, the first person from the TART crew that I want to bring on, so he can maybe ask some questions, you ask him some questions, and before we do that, present the our website and that kind of thing. If we can bring on screen just Jeff. Bam, love it. Clean pasta. And there he is. There he is. There he is.
He's taking his time.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry,
There
I was praying.
Oh, okay. Okay. What were we praying about that we can agree with you?
I was trying to solve childhood cancer.
Oh shit. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Anyway, about that website.
little too big.
Well, probably, yeah, for this episode, probably. But Jeff, before we start digging into questions, conversations with Christian and the rest of our crew, what's going on with the website and merch and all that fun shit?
Well, you don't have to pray for a better website, because Austin has actually been doing real world work to get this thing up and running and looking great, mind you. The TART link tree is still up. It is the easiest way to get to all of the appropriate links for the different places. I know we talk about a lot of stuff on the show. It's hard to keep track of. Here's the single location where you can find it. So here we have the link tree, linktr.ee/TART. That takes you to everything: the Facebook, the official TART website, the TART YouTube channel, the Patreon, the Discord, and the Twitter, all in one helpful link just for you. So you can click on here and find the YouTube channel, you can find our Patreon, and you can even join the Discord. We've got a great team of moderators now at the Discord. The Discord's been up for a little over 8 months. And I think that right now we have probably the best group of moderators that we've ever had. The other thing that I've seen a huge increase in, was something that I really want to praise, is a lot of the newer members and admins have been doing a really good job of attracting new female non-believers to help show that is not a minority group among the non-believer communities, and giving them a voice. I still think that that's a one area we could do better as non-believers or atheists, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so back to the official TART website. If we go there, you can see the official website has a store. This is new. We've never sold stuff before, and I've never talked about it. But here you'll actually be able to locate the t-shirts, stickers, hats, Mute Oz limited edition t-shirts, and masks. They do work, and you should be wearing a mask, just FYI. And then also you can go in here and find our schedule. That's probably one of the most important things, and it's probably what I go to the website the most for, is just to see what's going on, to see who's supposed to be where and doing what. And there's that. So all of these things in one easy to find location. And back to you, Austin, I guess, unless you have anything else that you need to talk about.
No, the only thing that I'll plug there, obviously, Christian's with us tonight. Very very happy to have him on with us. And tomorrow night is going to be very very exciting, very very interesting. Pasta will actually be hosting tomorrow night's conversation. We're going to have two current full-time pastors with us, and then two former pastors, and now atheists. And the topic of discussion is going to be the impact full-time ministry has or could have on mental health for those involved.
Wow!
So it's going to be deep. It's going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, and Pasta's the perfect. I told him earlier the perfect air traffic controller for that kind of conversation. So, but no, let's get into it. Christian's our guest. Let's chop it up with him. Jeff, Christian, what's going on? Any questions you have?
Well, here I want to actually say I need a new face mask, and I'm currently on the TART website right now getting that face mask.
Appreciate
because it. I need a new one and it looks fantastic, and I'm going to add it to my cart and check out through the rest of the show, and hopefully I can get one shipping by the end of the show. We'll see.
And feel free to order one of everything. But
there we go.
It's the best way, honestly, to get everything is to order everything.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the only way to get everything actually.
That face mask is on Christian. I got you, buddy.
What do you say?
Yeah, it's on us. We'll take care of it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yep. Thank you. I'm still going to buy
special mask. Yeah, well, you give one away, and then you keep another one. You're saving lives.
There we go.
Absolutely.
I'll ship one to my army buddy Riley, who just got done with basic.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Standard issue.
Cool. Christian, while we have Jeff on screen with us, we'll kind of move the positions around a little bit here. Any questions you have for Jeff or for myself while you get us on here?
Yeah, I want to know how you get your TikTok lives to look so good.
Me personally?
Yeah.
I use a couple different pieces, but probably the most important one is this thing right here. It holds my phone in weird locations. I can grip it to things.
Okay.
And that helps. That's about, I think, it. Cleaning the lens. I don't know. I found that. So the weirdest thing, though, that I've noticed as I start to make TikToks and see people say things, and people will make fun of phones if they think the phone looks crappy, like Oz's camera. So they'll make funny jokes about, oh, it looks like an iPhone, or get an iPhone, or this is what Android looks like. And I've noticed that depending on what app you're using, different apps will give you priority if you do have a specific brand of phone. So it can just matter on what phone you own. And it has nothing to do with the video quality. It has nothing to do with any of the electronics on the inside of the phone. It simply just means that they have optimized for that. So you have to kind of play around with those different options. And then, of course, lighting. I have a big flat light, that hits me in the right ways. So I actually am terribly ugly in real life.
The best lights are the one that hits you in the right way. So.
Yeah, it's got to hit you, right in the face. And
like a good medium rare hit in the face. Yeah. Something to that effect.
So those are the things that every good TikTok liver should have. And and controversy gets a lot of subscribers. And I actually was just handed this book in my parking lot, and it says The Great Controversy, and it looks like totally a legitimate book. Definitely not something from some sort of religion. It doesn't have an author, by the way. So
he was God.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, so it does sound like the Bible. Okay.
And it's got a it's a $12 book apparently. So I got it for free. It's $12.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe I'll read it. I don't know.
So both of you are doing a form of call-in show. I know, Christian, you shared before the show that yours is on Twitch, and Jeff is getting ready to do his first. He's done several on TikTok and stuff, obviously, but doing his first, official one via YouTube and/or.
I think I'm going to go Twitch. We talked before the show started, and I think that Twitch might be the better option for us.
Yeah, and
I really enjoy Twitch.
Yeah. From what I heard Christian say, and just a very, very little, I've heard other people talk about it. Even Matt Delhoney being one of them, that he's talked about that it's for that you're less likely to get your show pulled on.
Yes.
Twitch when you're doing high controversy, high drama, type shows.
So
where you're gonna get people,
controversial.
people are trying to team up on people and get your show taken down and banned. It sounds like Twitch is definitely the safer route. So
Extremely twitchy is Jeff.
Yeah, I am
Yes,
very
he is.
twitchy. Yes, I am.
Twitchy. Jeff, anything that you like to say or ask a Christian before we keep rocking and roll?
No, I think that one of the biggest problems that we face as non-believers is people thinking that their voices should not be heard, or that they're alone and that they don't, their opinions are their own and they shouldn't talk about them. And so I think that our previous generations have said things to us like, you're not supposed to discuss religion and politics. And that's led to an entire generation that does not know how to discuss religion and politics. So anyone that's thinking about making a channel, be it a theist or atheist or political or whatever subject matter you think, as long as you are not, inciting violence or, radical stuff, get your voice out there. Like, make the channel, see if people want to hear your voice, and don't be afraid just because it's a controversial subject to not, have those discussions in an open mind. Have a discussion about what you believe in and see if other people come to the same demeanor. Maybe you just aren't right in your thought process. So I think that's one reason I do so many call-in shows, is I love to get people's different perspectives. Maybe I'll learn something. And so maybe you'll learn something.
Right. And Christian, I don't know if you felt this way, just bouncing off what Jeff just said. Even when I first started jumping into the YouTube world of skepticism, atheism, and streaming and doing all that, before I ever met Pasta or any of the guys, I thought it was controversial as a former Christian to try to go live and talk about it. I thought it was completely like pushing the boundaries, and I'm doing all these wrong things, right? But then I met a community and I'm like, oh no, this can be normalized. Like I'm not on this island all by myself. So I would agree with Jeff that whether it's us, Christian, the other ones that are in the community making a splash for secularism and humanism, just do it, jump in, and you'll find out how amazing this community is.
Oh, totally. I guess I always give this small bit of advice that's been given by many people before me, but I think it's just great advice. You don't have to wait until your setup is perfect, or wait until your setup is exactly how you want it to be. My first video had me with a little headphone microphone with a deer picture in the background, a lamp to my left, and just remarkably terrible video and audio. And it was really, 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 really unfortunate. And now I have, 2 studios that I operate out of with good quality microphone and video that doesn't look awful. And you have, it's an incremental process. If I never started, I never would have learned how to get better. And if you never learn how to get better, you're always going to be stuck in that beginning space of it isn't perfect and I can't make videos until it looks like, big YouTubers. It shouldn't look like them. They've been doing it for years. It shouldn't look like them at the beginning. It should look like your own production. So I just give that advice to anyone. Just start making content, start being an activist. It's not about what you do today. It's about what you grow into tomorrow. So
those are excuses when you say, I don't have the right. Go pick your favorite YouTuber and go watch their first video and tell me that you can't do what they do. Tell me.
Well, and most people, their biggest fear is failure. And guess what? If you're not failing, you're not trying. You haven't tried anything in your life. So put yourself out there and run with it. Run with it. Don't be worried about what people may say or think or whatever. I know Pasta's here if he wants to jump in and talk about it, because he saw some of my original stuff from day one that I was sitting on either my patio smoking cigarettes or in my living room with a shitty camera, shitty mic, everything. I just wanted my voice to be heard. Like I just wanted people to know what I'd been through and what I'd experienced and all that. And it didn't really matter to me what the quality of it was. That came later. That came after I met, Pasta and Jeff and Steve and, now Ben and even Jesus Mike, going through all of that I learned. Okay, quality does matter now at this point, but when I first started, it was all about just expressing, myself and my opinion. So no, I think that's great. And then la da 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 da. It's a Snoopy. Okay. But anyway, we'll keep moving now. But Paz and I have talked about that several times. That sometimes you just got to start. You just have to have a starting point and go from there. But if we can, I would love to bring on the Bruce Lee of SE, which would be Ben G. Can we bring him on? That guy? Yeah, with the really shitty hair.
Hey.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
There we are.
Nice shirt.
Just got him. Yeah, just got him done today.
What's up, Ben?
Hey, how are y'all?
Good.
We're good.
Ben looks like out of all the entire group, Ben looks like most like a Christian.
I
Hey,
agree.
if
Pastor Ben.
I am what you say I am.
Oh, okay.
You've Pastor Ben.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been enjoyable, Christian. I see a lot of the same kind of values that like when I was like 18, 19, 20, I see a lot of those like same pathways, and man, like your follow through is amazing. Like the fact that you're starting to put stuff out there and really kind of have that conversation. It's really impressive, and I'm really excited to talk with you today.
Me as well.
So, I mean, dude, like the first thing that comes to my mind, and I'll just jump into questions, Oz. I'm not sure what else we got.
No, go. You get a few in, and I want him to be able to ask a few. So,
All right. Yeah, this is the segment
There we
where
go. Scared the crap out of me. Let's do it.
Typically what we'll do is, if we have a theist on or somebody on with some extraordinary views, I'll practice some street epistemology or things like that. But I had a few questions just pop up. So, I mean, I was able to search you up. I just added you on Twitter, by the way.
Saw that. Thank you.
Added you on the TikTok and on YouTube. I'm going to make sure that I'm following you a lot closer from now on. But as like a new person to your page, my first time meeting you, I guess my first question is like, what or who are your like biggest influences?
That's a good question. Generally speaking, I like to follow ideas, not people.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking for a fantastic way to do something, I tend to take a conglomerate of people and pick the consistency and ideas. But people specifically, I mean, it's the obvious ones. People at the ACA like Jenna, V, Eric, Matt, who have all played a tremendous role in making me the activist that I can be now, especially by supporting me directly. But as far as ideas that I love, I mean, I generally hold to the philosophy that you get in what you put in is what you get out. And there's obviously exceptions to that, and there's extraneous circumstances where that's not true. But generally speaking, if you put in 100%, you're going to get some return. And I've just been trying to give 150. And if 150 gives me 100 back, then that's fantastic. I'll give 175. If 200 gives me 50, then I'll give 300 and hope it gives me 100 back. I'm just trying to increase the amount of return that I get, not just with, any sort of monetary gain, but just people in general. Just getting people to watch the content, making new activists, making new friends. To me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it reminds me, I had a motivational speaker come and speak. So marching band was like this big thing, part of my past. And we had a motivational speaker come in who was a big time band director. And he always said, you get out what you put in. And when you get whatever you get back, you put it back in. It ends up becoming this cycle where as you get more back, you put more in. And eventually you reach that excellence that I think we're all striving for.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a really good way to put it. You get in, you get out. I keep saying it wrong. I feel like this is just so sad. You get out what you put in, and it's a force multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you put in over time, the more that you'll get out over time. And I think that's a really good sentiment.
And that's like as I've started getting in with the Atheist Round Table and producing some content myself, I really do feel like it's the most gratifying thing when you have people reach out to you and talk to you about like the way that you've benefited them. Have you had some of those experiences yet? And what does that feel like?
Several a day. Yeah, it feels like now. I really don't ever know how to react. I had someone say that they had started their channel because of the conversations that I was having. And I had someone say that they were in a really bad place, and they had messaged me for a while, and I helped get them out of there. So it's really an honor and a privilege to be able to say that I've helped even one person. But the fact that I've gotten messages saying content's fantastic, or videos are great, or I like this in particular, or this conversation on race really helped me, or this conversation on sexuality really helped me. These sorts of messages, they don't necessarily boost any sort of ego. They help me feel like I'm giving back in some way. Because I had people who did that for me when I was still a Christian and very unhappy with my life. So being able to be that to someone else has been the honor and privilege of my lifetime.
Well, and I guess like all of this kind of comes back to then, what are the kind of influences, I guess, that you'd like to leave with your followers? So as you've been influenced by people from the ACA and those kinds of ideas, what are some of like the major themes that you hope someone stumbling across your channel and staying with you for a few months, what might they come away with, or what do you hope they come away with?
I would really hope they come away with two things. First is the kindness part, the being respectful. I would say that my initial bout into atheism was very angry, and I was frustrated that I had been lied to. I was frustrated that I had been treated poorly from being religious, and I was frustrated by the people who believed it around me and still continue to believe it around me. And I took it out on people unfairly. And I've come to the point now where I want to see secular activism be forceful, but also be respectful. There's nothing wrong with a street epistemology session that gets someone to get frustrated. That's almost the point of it, is frustration and really challenging your preconceived notions. But doing that while still holding a level of respect that I think is essential to a communicative.
Yes. I hate that word too.
I really do hate that word. I'm never using it again on a live show. To communicate well in those conversations almost requires a baseline level of respect that I think is absolutely essential. In my activism, I'd like to reflect that in all my interactions. It hasn't been in all my interactions so far, but in the future, I want to make a conscious effort to do that. Otherwise, I mean, the second big thing is building for the future. I mean, none of us are going to see the changes we want to see in one lifetime. That's a bit unrealistic. So it's about equipping yourself for activism now, and then building blocks for the future so that people who come after you have those resources for activism when you're long gone, so that the fight continues to be fought even when you can no longer pick up the sword and shield. And that to me is another thing I'm trying to bring with my activism.
Wow. I mean, dude, those two things are first of all, like, so well thought out. I appreciate that you've taken the time to. So sometimes when I ask that question, or if I think about that question myself, it's a difficult question. I mean, how many people are giving themselves values from which to build? And so for you to have very clearly like kindness and building for the future is very helpful for someone like me. And I find that with the kindness part, you mentioned like street epistemology. You know, I can very easily go through some of my content, things that I've written, and I'm like, man, I didn't hold to my own ideals very well there. How do you address, like, if somebody points out, hey man, you actually weren't very respectful here, or like, here's a clear conflict of your values. What kind of things do you try to do to either make up for that or like progress? What's your thought process there?
So I'm fortunate enough to be my own worst critic. I'm really hard on myself. So when I get people commenting on what I've done, it's probably because I've already thought of it, or I've already seen it and I'm like, that was bad, let's fix that. But there is occasions where I miss something, and I'm really, really receptive to criticism. I was a debater on the national circuit for many years, and I was a speaker as well. So when I see imperfections, I usually catch them. But if someone else does, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I should really work on that. To me, it's all just trying to make me a better speaker, make me a better activist. And anytime I fail at that, I want to make sure that I correct as soon as possible with enough care as possible. But I still remember my first ever street epistemology session in my lunchroom. I had just deconverted, and I went up to some of my former Christian friends and just yelled at them for 20 minutes. I was like, you know, you have no reason to believe this. You are terrible at philosophy. You never read a single book on this. And I was just, you know, going off. And then the atheists around me were like, yeah, get them. And my Christian friends afterwards were like, you know, our minds aren't changed and you look like an ass. And I'm like, well, that's true. I mean, it was fun, but it's true. So I was like, maybe I should slow it down and take a different approach, because street epistemology, or at least just general discourse, isn't supposed to be a yelling match. It's supposed to be an exchange of ideas that are diametrically opposed. and hoping that one person finally figures out that I don't know isn't good enough when it's a really important assertion. And I kept working at it. I would go in my lunchroom and talk to different people every single day, kind of singling someone out and going, do you have a couple minutes to talk about this or this and that? And I practiced for, 6-ish months or so before the pandemic hit. And after a while, I got pretty decent at it. Still not fantastic, but still nowhere near Ben G. But
stop.
I'm getting there. I'm growing, and hopefully I can continue to build those skill sets over time, because I really have only been an atheist for just a year now.
Wow. So your conversion then was about, or deconversion, or abandoning faith and embracing reason, sometimes, as I like to put it, is very recent. And I mean, I remember I was, how old are you now? Do you mind?
18.
18. So, I mean, I was just about 18 when I left, or when I decided that I didn't have a good reason to believe. And then I kind of stayed silent for a couple of years, and I started a secular student alliance at my college because it became important to me that I did start speaking out eventually. What was that spark that kind of got you from, I'm deconverting, to this is the most important thing to me right now, and the thing that I want to put a ton of effort in? What was it that kind of got you from point A to point B there?
It was my best friend, Riley. He left for the Army about 5 months ago or so, and he actually just finished basic, and I got to call him for the first time today in months. So, and update him on all the stuff that I've been doing. But I didn't want to be an activist. I was very uncomfortable being an atheist, and I was making the arguments kind of casually at school, but still being I hadn't come out to my family as an atheist yet. I hadn't done any of this. And he said, I'm going to leave for the Army, and you should give this a try because you'd be good at it. And I called Chris Mallard at the Daily Atheist, and I was like, can I come on? And he's like, yeah, you can try it one time. And I thought it was going to be a one-time thing. And apparently I wasn't so terrible at it. And he pushed me until he left, and he said, when I come back, I want to see that you've done something. Even if it's not a grand channel with a bunch of different connections, just give yourself a shot because you'd be good at it. And I took those words to heart. And as I did it, I learned to love it. I learned to be a part of these communities. And it wasn't something that I necessarily consciously was like, I want to be a secular activist. It was more like, I'm going to try this out, and if it feels right, I'll keep going. And so far, it's been seriously the honor of my life. And I hope that it continues to be the best thing I've ever done.
And excellent. I mean, thank you for sharing that, because I mean, that's such a personal story, and it sounds very compelling. And so as you get started, and so excellent. So now you've got the spark, and you're getting started on your journey because of your friend Riley going off and saying, build something. Your second foundational value was building for the future. So what is it then? So great. We've got the spark. What is it that you're now trying to move toward? What is the ideal, I guess, version? Is it a society that you're working toward? Is it within the atheist culture? What are you looking for?
So I have thought about that question a lot, because I feel like I've kind of captured that first pillar with my channel and with my activism personally. But building for the future is something that I'm really trying to focus on. So I've been workshopping a organization that's still kind of in development, that's designed to provide a ground zero for activists who want to begin the journey of, I'm just an atheist, to I'm ready to start advocating against religion and for secular values. And giving a ground zero that I didn't have when I was first getting into activism, I think would be really cool. So I've been working on it, getting some awesome people to help me, and I'm working on it quite closely, and hopefully in the next couple months it will materialize. But as of things I'm doing right now, I'm constantly going on other creators' channels, especially new creators. I love doing it because I was the kind of person who at the very beginning couldn't get anyone on his channel. It was really tough. It was actually heartbreaking sometimes when you do so much work to get someone on and they'd still say no. And I've kind of made it my personal mission to say, if you have very little amounts of subscribers, I'm happy to come on your show anytime you want. I'll make the time, because everyone needs that one person to give them a shot. And I wasn't going to throw away my shot when I got the Daily Atheist morning show, and I still haven't thrown it away, and I won't ever throw it away. But some people don't ever get that shot. And I want to be that person who says, here's a platform, I'll come on your platform. Let's get your activism out in the open, because there would be no Matt Dillahunty, no Eric Murphy, no Vila Bianca if no one said, here's your first shot. And there's many activists waiting in the wings right now who have yet to have that shot given to them. And if I can be the person who gives the next great activist their shot, then I feel like it would have been worth it.
Yeah. Thank you. And you mentioned kind of starting from creating a ground zero is and now as I was kind of trolling your stalking your Twitter page, I was reading your bio. You mentioned that you were the president of Atft. Could you explain a little bit about what that is, and maybe for anybody who is curious about the other kinds of things that you're into?
I'm glad you caught that. That is the only social media that has the actual name of the new organization. So I'd be happy to say it. It's called Activism for the Future.
Activism for the Future. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was like one of the first things I come. President of Atft, like, awesome. Well, so like personally, and I know we're going to move on here in a minute. Personally, I got started with my activism through the Secular Student Alliance, and have you ever heard of that organization? Is that part of your? Did you consider it, or within, I guess, your last year of maybe high school, maybe it's a weird time to kind of think about it, or I don't know what your thoughts are on college and incorporating that. It's such a big part of my background that I'm interested in your thoughts about it as a person who's that age.
Yeah, I'll be doing philosophy and biology double major in the spring. So that'll be awesome. I am hoping to work with SSA, but provided that COVID continues, it's going to be hard to get something started up. But at my high school, I basically had a secular club. I started it myself. We didn't get any funding because our school would not fund a secular club, shockingly. And I was like, I'll just get some people together and talk about it, no matter if they want me to or not. And that's kind of been my attitude so far. So if I get to work with SSA, that's awesome. I live near Madison, which is where Dan Barker is. So yeah. I would love to work with Dan sometime on things like that. But so far, I'm just looking forward to building a platform here, and then also getting my education and working on that. And then hopefully down the line, I can work with those awesome organizations when I have more of an established base.
Right. Well, and then my last question is, man, you've got so much going on. Are you taking time for yourself? Are you taking time to enjoy life, just do normal teenagery things? Like my biggest concern, and I kind of ran into this, I'm sure, a couple times if I reflected hard enough, where burnout is a real thing. What kind of things do you like to do outside of the internet, outside of the activism? Are you taking time for yourself?
Yeah, so while it seems like I do a whole bunch, I really only record or stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Okay. I'm usually taking 4 days to either go to my regular job at the sandwich shop that I work at, or I'm going and playing basketball outside, or I'm taking a walk, or I'm sitting down here and playing some video games on my lonesome. That's not streamed for anybody in particular. Yeah. So I do a lot of things. I've done more recently because at the very beginning, I really was dedicating 7 days a week to this, and it became too much. And I scaled it back very much and decided that I was going to do a couple shows really well instead of like 7 shows very poorly. So I've cut back on show appearances. I actually haven't been on an actual proper show in like 3 weeks until this show. Otherwise, I've just been doing my shows. I've been cutting down on it a lot recently. And it's mainly to give myself the breaks. And I think it's really important to have those. And I mean, just today, I basically spent the whole day either cleaning or walking around the house, just talking about random ideas to myself with no one else listening but me, or, watching some other people's content. But that's my relaxing. My relaxing isn't really relaxing per se. It's just not being on shows. So I think having the time to not be on shows is really important. But I love this community and I love watching other people's stuff. So I'm usually watching Empathetic Atheist or something else, or joining an after party here and there. That's not really work to me. That's just what I like to do. But getting on these shows and preparing for shows and things like that, I've definitely cut down on purpose, because doing too much can oversaturate in a little bit, because everyone sees you everywhere and they're like, holy crap, it's Christian again. But now it's more like, I haven't seen Christian in a while. I wonder what he's up to. So it's building that brand instead of the, I'm on every single show as much as I possibly can. I'm being a little more selective now, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're taking care of yourself and not dedicating 100% of your time to this. That's definitely important. Well, we've got Oz and Steve joining us on TART Live.
Yo, yo, yo.
Hey.
Oh, the murderous one. The murderous one.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Oh my gosh. I've been so excited for this. Like,
Christian.
Real quick, I have to do this because I know Christian anticipated this and he has been looking forward to it for 2 weeks. Pasta, can we roll the Murder Shed Steve intro because this was very important for this evening?
Yes, when we actually have the Q&A, we'll do that. Yeah.
Oh, I thought my bad, my miss. He said, "Yeah." What do we actually?
come on, us.
That's why I'm not the director producer and he is. So my bad. I dropped the ball. So
I threw
Steve,
you off on purpose by smoking the pipe.
That's what threw me off. You had the pipe. Had you not come on with the pipe, I'd have been like, okay, we're just continuing in normal dialogue. But you had the fucking pipe. But Steve, what are your questions? So I don't further make myself look like an ass tonight. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to ask a question that was probably already asked.
Okay, fair enough.
What was like the main thing that really like led you on the path, right, of deconversion?
Okay, so this is kind of a fun story. That person I mentioned earlier, Riley, he and I were fundamentalist creationist Christians together, and he deconverted about 3 weeks before I did. And it was kind of sudden and out of nowhere. And it really shook me to the core because I thought that atheists couldn't be good people and certainly couldn't be my friend. And as soon as he deconverted, I started having conversations with him and conversations with other people and reading more books and those sorts of things. And I always like to say within a month, I stopped calling myself a Christian, but I was still a theist for many more months. I just wasn't a Christian per se, but I was kind of argued out of that quite quickly. But yeah, it was with my best friend, Riley, who really just said, it's okay to be an atheist. It's just an absence of belief in God, or it's just the belief that there are no gods, and it's not this big deal in your life. And you can not accept the evidence for God and still be a good person and still be a productive member of society, which I didn't think was possible. So he kind of showed me that in a sense.
He kind of took that veil of mystery away from what an atheist actually was. Or the,
very much so.
The the stigma that you get.
What was
Yeah.
it? Was there anything specifically that he talked about that made you realize that seriously made you doubt, or was it simply just the perception of atheists?
So it was a lot of things. I was compelled by a lack of evidence. I was compelled by him breaking down the Bible and how it was a poor source for any sort of claim regarding historicity. But one of the big things was I was in a pretty bad van accident, and I had shattered the majority of my upper spine, and my lower back was pretty much permanently damaged to the point where even now, just sitting in this comfy little chair, it's getting sore. So that happened, and I still remember, getting out of the vehicle and laying on the ground, and my first reaction was to pray. I was like, if anyone's going to save me from this, it's going to be God. And I got up on the highway, and I was, reaching out and praying, and it wasn't God who grabbed my hand. It was the person who had stopped on the side of the road and helped me up and got me into the car. And that's kind of when I sort of internally realized that asking for help and getting a response from a human being is really all we have. We can't call out to God and expect an answer. And even if it is an answer from God, it's humans helping humans at the end of the day. And I remember being in the hospital bed and thinking, if I can thank God for not crashing, who do I blame for crashing? And that mindset kind of flipped immediately in my head. And I called my friend Riley, and I was like, if we all praise God for the things that happen that are good, but he gets none of the blame for things that happen that are bad or cause suffering, then it's not really a God at all, is it? And from that moment on, I was pretty much done.
I got to say, not quite as traumatic, but I had some back problems myself. My doctor actually told me that I was swinging my axe, twisting too much. So I changed my technique, and things are much better.
I was waiting for a heartfelt moment, but it was much better. I like that.
Oh my gosh.
And on that note, if anybody's out there in the chat that has questions for Christian and or the crew, minus Steve, because we don't want to be asking direct questions to Steve.
Don't.
But if you have questions for, don't go ahead.
Too many damn questions.
Yeah, but if you have questions for Christian J. Watkins, Oz, Benji, Just Jeff is still around here. I think he's actually eating some atheist ravioli in the green room. But if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. In the meantime, if you don't mind, Christian, I have a couple of questions for you. I'd love to ask.
Sure.
I try to mess with my my headset here.
Okay. I had some agnostic tuna for lunch, and it didn't sit well.
It never does. I find did it give you heartburn?
No, I had a different issue.
Oh, I got you. Did you have the poopity poops? You get the poopity poops sometimes from the agnostic tuna, that yellowfin.
The poopity sloopity poops. I mean, like that was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not good because you tend to regret eating it then, you know. But where do you get your morality from at the end of the day?
Atheist pizza.
Yeah. Anyway, Christian.
I will do this show every week. Please have me on every week.
I'm hoping that the questions come so we can run Steve's intro that Austin brought up. We're gonna bring it in. We're gonna bring it in here in a moment. But Christian, if you don't mind, what denomination of Christianity were you?
Lutheran.
Wow, I'm going to pretend like I know what that is. Can you explain?
So it's basically a healthy mixture between Reformed sort of Methodist. So it's very much anti-Catholic. We really, really hated Catholics, like with the burning passion. That's where I learned my Catholic hate from. But outside of that, I mean, it was pretty standard by the Bible, except for parts it didn't like. And otherwise, you know, most of it was pretty standard stuff. I mean, we believed in, I believe our Trinitarian theology was 3 in 1. So we believe that there was actually one God and that it was just kind of appearing in different parts, but it was one entity as opposed to 3 in 1. So that was sort of the extent of the theology there. But otherwise, it was mostly just read the Bible, get some good messages from it, and enjoy yourself in the time being. But
now that was your take on it, but you're not speaking for all Lutherans. Is that right?
No, yeah, my church is probably vastly different than other Lutherans.
Gotcha. You know, one of your comments that popped up earlier was from Barely Protestant, a great guy, Father James. He came on the show and I got to chat with him. So if he's a fan of yours, that says a lot because he's a super, super nice guy. I chatted with him about his views and his beliefs. This is a cool conversation. I'm talking to you as an atheist now, but I'm trying to peel back and chat with you as though you're still a Lutheran. Austin calls me a cradle atheist. I find it to be offensive, and I'm not liking that word, but I believe what he means is I've been an atheist since I've always been, you know, like since a baby, I think is what he means, since I was in a cradle. Whereas you're just now becoming an atheist. So when I hear Lutheran, I don't know what it is. It almost sounds like something like one of the bad clan that Star Trek folks meet. Like, who are these guys? They're the Lutherans. You know, I don't know who they are. But how does it differentiate between what he is? Like, he's barely Protestant. Like, if I was barely a Lutheran, what would be the difference?
So I actually had a fantastic conversation with Father, and he's a fantastic guy. Seriously, we had a great conversation.
He really is, genuinely is.
I guess one of the hallmarks of Lutheranism, and I almost separate Christianity in kind of two schools of thought. There's preaching against going to hell and preaching for going to heaven. And my church was very much, you know, you want to go to heaven, because whereas hell may be a bad place, the real treasure is being with Jesus Christ for the rest of your life. And that was really very much the preaching. And I had several pastors, and I almost like to say this church was very much cafeteria Christianity. It was picking a lot of different things from a lot of different interpretations, basically what fit the community at large. Our community was relatively conservative, but it's still Wisconsin, so it's pretty blue. I mean, we had generalized conversations about homosexuality. I mean, it was considered a sin, but they weren't going to like freak out if anyone at the congregation was homosexual, but they certainly did discourage against it.
Mhm.
And I even had a friend, I came to my pastor with I said, one of my friends is gay, and he goes, well, you can try to heal him with God's word. And that was the first time that I realized that, maybe this isn't the right worldview if that sort of thing is the focus. So I don't know. I never really had serious doubts, but there was times where I kind of shook my head in a little bit of disbelief, if you will. But
As a former Catholic, I take offense to your former Lutheran. And I can remember going to a non-denominational high school with Methodists and other things, and I was the only Catholic in the school. And they'd find out I'm Catholic, and they'd say some things. I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with these guys?" Like they would cut you really freaking hard. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I don't know where they get. Obviously, they got their information from church, but it's like, as a Catholic, I almost felt like reinforced in my belief because I was being criticized so hard.
Christian, did you say you're a Scotty as well?
yeah.
Well, I'm Murder Soda.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to go, but it's been nice.
I was going to say we can link up sometime.
I'm very much a homer with Wisconsin. I'm Badgers, Packers, Brewers. I very much am a homer. So when I hear Minnesota, I immediately think Vikings, and it makes me so furious when I hear that. So thanks for that, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome to the Murder Shed anytime, especially now.
Okay.
Especially between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
There we go. That's the best part of the Murder Shed.
Yeah.
Hey,
True.
Jeff, being an ex-Catholic,
Who's talking?
Christian, let
Dude, this show, man.
let me ask Christian, because I was in the process of interviewing you, tactfully, and I brought Jeff in to be nice. I was being nice, and he kind of steamrolled over, and I typically don't mind, but anyway, so
Okay, go ahead.
what I was going to ask is, you're a great interviewer, by the way. I think the guys have highlighted it. I'm not going to keep drilling down and making your 18-year-old head swell. But you are a very good interviewer. And one of the things that shocked me was I did know you as the guy that's popping into all these shows. I saw you on a lot of these shows. What I did not know is how well versed you were at interviewing and putting together podcasts. So I must admit that is refreshing to see that you're doing all the the time. You're going out there, putting yourself out there, but you're also doing all the work. And if people do get a chance to listen to some of your interviews, I must admit, they're fantastic. They are fantastic. Your podcasts are A-class. I don't think if you haven't gotten any credit for them, you should. There's a bunch of amateurs on here, us included, that talk to people all the time. And there are professionals that do it. And I would line yours up with the pros. So you do a very good job. And if you're only 18 years old, when I was 18, I was spitting off highway bridges. So kudos, man.
You don't want to know what I was doing when I was 18.
I mean, I tell you, I seriously appreciate that. I mean, I have no interview background, but I do have backgrounds with intense public speaking and speech writing and doing research. So when I'm interviewing someone, it's a multiple day endeavor to research what they've done and what great questions I can ask. And it really takes a long time. Everyone sees the hour-long conversation, but what you don't see is the 3-day process before, the editing afterwards, and the talking to my art director and getting the thumbnail figured out. It's hard work, but I love doing it, and I wouldn't trade any of the work for the world. I don't have anyone who helps me with it besides the thumbnails. It's all me, and I like it that way because it makes me feel a sense of accomplishment to know that even though I'm still very new to this, I can still produce content that is not only watchable, but enjoyable by people who stumble upon it for the first time.
Well, kudos, man. I would absolutely have you on to interview some folks on this channel any day of the week. In fact, you'd save me a job because you put that. I would like to ask though, what really was the one thing that got you to disbelieve? Because you held a belief in a deity, and you're a year into atheism. You did mention your friend who's in the army, and that, you know, we do know that people have influences over us. But what took you out of that cherished belief?
Yeah, I mean, so this is always a tough question. Not necessarily because there wasn't reasons, but because I'm not sure that there was one reason. There's a lot of times where it's almost like when it rains, it pours. There wasn't an individual raindrop that made me switch my viewpoint, but all of them hitting at once shattered it. And while there was a moment that I definitely did stop believing in a God, there wasn't a point where I necessarily said, this is the argument that convinced me. It was more, these are arguments that I find really problematic for theology, and continuing to believe in theology is an exercise in dissonance at this point. And I moved to that point, and I didn't admit it for about a month or so, even after I had stopped believing privately. Going public with that disbelief or that lack of belief was the hardest thing I've ever done, probably. I mean, going to school with all of my conservative friends saying I was no longer a Christian, getting ridiculed for it, sometimes even having people avoid me because of it. And it was tough, but I would rather hold a position honestly and be ridiculed for it than hold a position dishonestly and keep my friends. So if they don't want to be friends with me after I'm an atheist, go away. Screw you, man. I can find better friends, like Benji, for example. I can find better friends, but you know, I didn't need all
Benji's
those.
a good guy. Benji is a really good guy. In fact, I liken yourself to Ben in a sense. The question is, and it's foolish to say that because you're intelligent, you should be an atheist. I want that to be the truth, but I know many, you know, theists or polytheists who are super smart people. It's indicative of an indoctrinated or cherished held belief to me. So for my sake, I'm thinking to myself that you must have had doubts of your belief for a long time. You're so smart. You don't just switch. I think Oz and Jeff coined this in our Discord server, like a microwave and a crock pot. I think it's a great analogy. So it's not a microwave thing where you just run into a brick wall and you're like, I'm an atheist now. So I'd like to know, when you were younger, and you're young now, but when you're going to church or you're thinking of this Lutheran faith, what were the things that Ben asks people? Like, Ben's TikTok is phenomenal to me. He's on TikTok. He's planting these little seeds in these young people's minds. A lot of people don't have access to that. So what were the things that you were questioning? Were you using epistemology, for example, to say, this verse in this book I'm reading is just not logical? You know, this is poor critical thinking here. You're a very philosophical young man. Are you not coming to the end of this passage and saying, I'm just not buying this? Is that how it played out for you, or is there another method you used?
So the analogy I often use is, think of a Venn diagram. The things that I thought of with my normal critical faculties, the things I didn't. In the things that I suspended my critical faculties for was my belief in the Bible's truth, or in the belief in the truth of any particular theology. I didn't approach it as a claim of truth because I never thought it was questionable as a kid. So while I was reading Hume at 10. When I was 10 or 11, I was diving into philosophy that was approaching a college level. And I was reading these sorts of things, not because I wanted to apply them to God, but because I wanted to apply them to politics or social issues or things that I actually cared about. I know, like a 10-year-old caring about social issues. I did, trust me, I did. There's almost, sure. I think there's still video of me doing those sorts of things. But I was trying to find good reasons to believe all sorts of political things. But I never even thought for a second to apply it to my religion. I never even thought for a second. There was never a time where I thought, you know, God is also a truth claim. I thought God was a necessity, that leaving God was to leave every other part of my worldview without any substance inside of it. And because of that, using an epistemological set to question God is almost like using the laws of logic to disprove the laws of logic. That's almost what it felt like to me. It felt like something that you just couldn't do. And once I figured out that you could do it by giving the fantastic people who have advocated for secular activism, who have given the tools to question God, those tools helped me use my already existing tools and combine those together to make that Venn diagram a circle of all the things that I use my critical faculties for. There's no longer a separate circle of a suspension of critical faculties anymore. And to me, that's what we can all hope for, that that circle of a suspension of critical faculties gets smaller and smaller and smaller as we get older. I was lucky enough to be still very young and lower that circle to, I think there's nothing in that circle anymore. There probably is, but I try to get it smaller and smaller every single day, and hopefully it continues to be a great asset to me.
Well, CJW, if you're not the poster boy for how incredibly powerful indoctrination is, because you have a 10-year-old who's reading Hume, you're clearly an incredible intellect. You're so smart, but yet you're also somebody that's been indoctrinated. You just basically described how you can be taught something with the ability to not question it. Something so ludicrous as oceans parting and bushes talking, yet you can probably do calculus at 9 years old. So that's just
12.
That's the power of 12. Yeah. So that's the power of this, and I guess that's why we all are on here, to try and educate. But the last question, I'm going to segue. This is a double thing, and then I'll bring Jeff Weasley's troll face back on, and we can go ahead and run Steve's intro. Two-part thing, and T-Jump's in the shout out to T-Jump too. That little sucker. I think. Hey, Steve, isn't T-Jump 4'8"? How tall is he in real life?
I think he's actually 7'3". He's
okay.
Very tall.
So he's really tall.
Yeah. You know that show, the Big Red Couch from back in the day?
Yeah.
His couch is actually like the cousin of that couch, so it's humongous.
I heard it's not a couch. I heard it's a rocking chair, like a really shitty rocking chair. He just got like a cushion on the back, and it's from all the liposuction that he got. They just put it all in the back.
It could be it could be like a rocking chair, but it's a giant rocking chair, so it's about the size of a big couch.
Oh, okay. Well,
everyone always guesses my height wrong. It's so interesting.
You're what are you?
You cut out.
Exactly.
Oh,
What did you say,
T-Jump
Ponce?
just cast a spell on me. I'm sorry. I said, Christian, you're about 6 foot.
6'3", but you're close.
6'3". Goodness me. See?
Some people say like 5'8", and I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm 6'9".
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Hey, no, he's not. We've met. Austin and I have met. Austin's not 6'9". T-Jump said he's 5'9". T-Jump said he's 5'9". T-Jump said he's 5. T-Jump's face is 5'4". It's just his face. He's not 5'9". He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a good debater, but he's a liar. People know he's a liar. T-Jump, tell the truth, otherwise we're going to unsubscribe from your channel.
Hey, I want to jump in. I want to say I respect so much that that analogy with the Venn diagrams. I've never heard anyone put it that way. The fact that there are things that are outside of our faculties or reasonable faculties, and so for me, that's a helpful visualization when I think about my biases. Like those would be things that would be outside of my critical, reasonable faculties that I would be attempting to minimize, or maybe the ideals that I'm struggling to reach. Maybe I'm creating justifications for those things that are outside of my reasonable faculties. So I really appreciate that visualization. That, like, if nothing else, that's something that I'm taking away in a major way from this conversation so far.
And if you haven't had a conversation with Ben, he's a very biased guy.
Yeah, and one thing I'm taking away, Christian, is my ability to leave just you and Ben up when you guys talk, and my inability to take everyone else off when you and I talk. That's my own fault. But one thing I will say is before I leave, actually, I'm the one that's about to leave. You're not leaving. I'm leaving. I was going to say, is there people on the theist end, that people that debate, or public speakers or theist philosophers, that you still respect, and That's part one of the question, because I'm going to leave you with this question and I'm going to leave. And then the other part of the question is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now when you're still only 23, which is scary? So you're 23 years old. You're still probably 6'3", 23 years old. You're probably going to be looking like a young Barack. That's what I'm probably thinking.
There we go.
Yeah, like a young Barack. College Barack, when he was cool, with a cool college Barack. So who do you still respect from the theist world, and where do you see yourself at 23? And with that, I'm going to leave you chat with these idiots.
Okay, so as far as the first question, theists I still respect. I'm going to give a general then a specific. So overall, any theist that will have a conversation with me in good faith, I respect. Just as a general rule, but specifically, I mean, Dean Meadows, Father James, Larry DeLindy, these are people, Lucas Jarlis, these are people who I've had great conversations with, who I, respect the hell out of, haha. But other than that, I mean, these are just fantastic people who I've had really awesome conversations with, and who I'd be happy to invite on my show, and who I'd be happy to have just a casual convo with. But great people, and anyone who's willing to come in good faith with good arguments is a friend of mine. And then the second question, in 5 years, I'm hoping that I'll still be doing this, because I'm having enough fun with it right now that I would probably do it until my dying day if I could. Giving people the tools and giving my takes on things has been, to echo it for the fourth time, an honor and a privilege. And it's one that I never want to give up. So I really hope that everyone who supports me and watches my content keeps giving me that chance, because I'm seizing the opportunity and I'm not letting it go until I think that I've done the best job I possibly can.
All right.
Well, thank you, Christian. Yeah, I think, Steve, do we have something coming up here?
I think
I'm so excited.
Well, hey, everybody. Long time no see. I haven't seen you since the last time I seen you. Now, I got a buddy that gave me a book, a new cookbook the other day. Well, a couple weeks ago, Roadkill Recipes. And I got to say, I tried it out recently, actually yesterday. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. It wasn't too bad. Hey, can we get Christian on? Yeah, let's get Christian, Ben. So, Christian, now that I know that we're fairly close to each other, yesterday I came across a new bicycle, and I'm trying to unload it. The front tire's a little bent, and there's some blood on it, but, that'll wash right off. So I found a bicycle on the side of the road. What are you going to do, And I was just wondering if you knew anybody who was in the market.
Probably Justin Downing.
Perfect. Thanks for doxing him. Anyway, I've got a few questions.
Okay.
My first question is, believe in reality. During COVID, which I believe they meant COVID, are you cutting your own hair now?
No. I put on my mask and I go to a local shop when everyone else is wearing masks, and I sit there quietly and get everything shaved off back to square one, because I'm too lazy and also not innovative enough to ask for a proper haircut. So,
Interesting, especially since you're going to the place.
I interpreted the question as like, now that you're part of the coven, what is the kind of haircut that you're required to have?
There's
OP
a Satanist
actually-
symbol back here.
OP actually corrected themselves and said COVID later.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. There we go.
So we do have evidence to support Benji that was the initial intention. John Anthony would like to know, who is your favorite YouTuber other than him? Or me, which I don't know. He knew that I was going to be reading the question, so maybe he meant me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he meant you. So I'll say John Anthony is my other favorite YouTuber. And Outside of that, I mean, I really enjoy watching Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic and Alex O'Connor from Cosmic Skeptic.
Two great guys.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a little bit more of a serious question from Ms. Oz. Mrs. Oz, I'm sorry. Now Oz is going to beat me up, or he's going to try. The T-Jump already had caught these hands, so he can tell you about it. Christian, how have you handled family members that are upset by your atheism?
Yeah, so some of them don't actually know. The ones who would be genuinely really mad probably.
How do they not know?
That's a good question. I mean,
could you do more work to let them know?
I'm hoping that this stream will help speed them along if they ever watch it. But yeah, I would say my immediate family knows the videos that I do, the podcasts that I do, the positions that I hold. I'm lucky enough to have most of them disagree with me, but still love me, which is not something that everyone gets the luxury to have. But I mean, outside of that, there was one like distant cousin who like screamed at me for like 2 minutes on Facebook. And I was like, cool, okay, thanks, bye. And then I blocked him. Because I mean, family isn't the only reason why family is related and valuable is because of circumstances I can't control. So I'm happy to cut out any family member that I have to if it means that I get to be happy, because I'm the primary concern of my life.
Were they typing in caps when they were yelling at you on Facebook?
A mixture of caps and in lowercase.
Oh my goodness. So they were like some pretty specific words.
Yeah.
T-Jump's got a question. You want to hear that one?
No, Tom. Yeah, let's hear it.
No.
Yeah. No? Well, go fuck yourself, Jeff.
Oh, we'll go fuck you.
T-Jump is wondering, and he's actually referring to intense public speaking. Do you have an example of that? I believe it was something you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so I was an extemporaneous competitor, which is you get 30 minutes to prepare a 7-minute impromptu speech on a political, social, or religious topic, usually, depending on what it is. And you would do 5 of those speeches or 7 at a tournament, and then you'd be ranked. I did okay. I had several trophies that I got, some first place finishes, but the biggest thing was just the repetitive impromptu speaking that helped me eliminate not all of the stutters, but most of the ums and ahs in my speech, especially when I'm talking about things that I'm just learning for the first time. So that's helped a bunch. But that's what I mean with competitive speaking. I did it for 3 years, and it was really helpful to me, I think. And I was pretty good at it too. Got some hardware, got some awards that are sitting over there on the shelf.
And actually, you've done a really good job of getting rid of those ums and ahs.
That's the goal.
Like
hey, speaking of ums and ahs, yeah.
And actually,
I knew that shit was going to happen. I
think Ben
Premonition
had a follow-up, and then I have 2 more questions. So
yeah, my follow-up was just like, what are the biggest things that you learned that are applicable in everyday life from competitive speaking?
Slow down. Definitely. I was always an incredibly fast talker, and I still sometimes get into the blah, 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 blah as I go forward. But I definitely learned how to enunciate and make clarity the focus of your speech, and slowing down helps do that. So while in debate, I did have to speak rather quickly to get points out. In forensics, I learned that not every speech is a race, and sometimes you can just be having a casual conversation with great enunciation, great points, and not have to rush anywhere.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad to see Oz in here because I have a question for him.
I'm not.
I have a very specific question for Oz from John Anthony. Why are you displaying your diplomas from the Ken Hovind School of Biology?
Let's see them.
In the background there, you can see them on Oz's
First of all, they're not from Hovind anything.
Those are warranties. Those are just certificate of warranties.
No, actually, I put them up there because I have a lot of people that try to discredit my years of study and biblical study, and those are just 2 of the certificates that I have for some of the Bible philosophy and teaching classes that I took, and I put them up there just as a little demonstration of evidence.
Can I get mine?
I mean, you can print your own.
I know I have
I was going to say, those are very nice certificates of participation. So
I'm just imagining you printing them off on your printer and then framing them behind you.
But that's actually what happened.
yeah,
I'm sure the church didn't pay for it by using the church's printer for that shit.
The taxpayers.
Yeah, they'll email it to you. You can print it at home.
They are legit, but I love to say that joke. So proceed.
Well, what is a legitimate training from, like, can I get one for Harry Potter work?
yes.
There's just move on. We'll train later.
Give me a certificate.
Oh my goodness.
I've got a question. One last final question from Barely Protestant for Christian. What do you miss about the intellectual tradition of the Christian faith itself?
That's a good question. I would say probably literary analysis. We did a lot of verisimilitude talks of creating a narrative from beginning to end and what it looks like to have a consistent narrative told. And there are certain parts of the Bible where prophecy is not reflected in reality, but is certainly being told in a specific literary way that calls back to previous elements of the literature. And I think that most Christians have. I miss that because I don't really read a lot of books now that have really, really intense narratives being told from beginning to end. So that's something I do miss about the intellectual side of believing in the Christian faith.
Without me having to look it up, what is verisimilitude?
It's when two parts of a narrative share elements that run through an entire story.
And
that's all the questions I have.
I hope we can talk some more later.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah.
And everybody but Jeff for stopping by the Murder Shed, where answers get questioned.
And that is my favorite transition that Pasta has created lately. I just want to say that looks like the ink running off. I love that one. Anyway, Christian, thanks for being on, man. Hope you had a good time hanging out with us knuckleheads tonight. And we know when to be serious. We know when to have fun. And tonight was a blast, and glad to be able to chop it up with you. So one last time before we wrap everything up, again, share with everybody that's with us right now who you are, where they find you, what do you have coming on, or I'm sorry, coming up in the next week or so. What's going on with you?
So links are in the description, but mainly it's youtube.com/ChristianJWatkins. I would plug my stuff, but really I just want to say thank you. I've been a long time watcher of what you do here, and it is truly a pleasure to be a part of what you guys do. I'm a massive fan. I promoted your stuff a lot, and it's not because I'm trying to shill to get on the show, which is half of it. But the other half is that I genuinely enjoy what you all do here, and it would be a pleasure to help out in any way that I can. And you can check out my stuff in the description, but really it's all the credit goes to you folks. You put on a fantastic show here.
Well, you were a great sport, because handling us knuckleheads for an hour and a half could be a daunting task, especially that Steve guy. He's a little creepy, But for those of you that are tuning in tonight and you've not checked out Christian's content, like he said, all of the links are in the description. Go check him out, subscribe, listen. He has a ton of great guests on his show, and they do a great job. I've watched many of them, and they have great conversations. And the last thing that I want to say is to end it is tomorrow night. This is a big deal. I really think this is a big deal, not just from a channel popularity thing, but this is a conversation that I believe needs to be normalized, and that is mental health, and there is a spike in suicides within the ministry, especially full-time pastors, and that's really what sparked this episode. So tomorrow night we will have Pastor Rob Yannock, Pastor Kyle Mills. We'll have Chris Atlee, which you guys know, the ones in our community know as the atheist pastor, then Dr. Josh. Everybody knows who Dr. Josh is. They're going to have a conversation based around mental health and the impact full-time ministry has on those folks that are involved. So 9 p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be awesome. And the one and only, our very own Pasta Mike is going to host and be the navigator of that conversation and make sure we stay on topic and everything stays on point, which I'm excited about. To be able to listen to him do that and really lock in with these four very, very smart gentlemen. So join us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for everybody that's been here tonight, ask questions. You've been in the comment section. We appreciate you. Check us out anytime. But again, go check out Christian and Steve, Jeff, Ben. As always, thank you. Pasta on the back end. Thank you. You're a badass. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. It's tomorrow night, guys. TART.
Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. Glad you can join us. Yep. Pasta Mike. To the table, the stable of people, killing fables. Yeah. What you came here to do? Pasta Mike break you down like a crossbow from AI. Ooh. Right in your eye. Just Jeff. What's next? Mr. Board off you ripping pages out your text. Dude Steve, like the movie, the murder shit.
Chop it up.
He shall kill me. Did it, G? Dude, please, the Bruce Lee, the fucking SE, then there's OZ. You know, none, man. Fucking new Oz.
Yeah, man, we're going down. That deep dive.
Grab your drinks, your paper and pen. Class is down with session.
That deep
Let
dive.
the lessons begin.